Hey, this is Mo from the Mobile Marvel, and I've been using the Vivo X300 Pro and the Oppo Find X9 Pro for about a month now, and I'm going to talk about it today. Let's go. So first things first, let's talk about the build quality of these two devices. They feel very, very similar in the hand. They're both the same size pretty much, very similar weight. I can't really tell a difference. The only real difference here is, and Vivo does mention this in their marketing material, it does have this like nice velvety feeling at the back, which just a slight edge there, I would give that to the Vivo. Another thing is they're both, again, IP68, IP69 rated. One tidbit fact, by the way, is they're both Oppo and Vivo are owned by the same corporation, BBK. So maybe there's something there of why these two devices are so similar. One thing, obviously, is the camera bumps are quite different. And there is a practical and ergonomic thing here. The Vivo doesn't wobble at all. Why? Because, well, the camera bump is in the center. The Oppo, on the other hand, the camera bump takes up about 2/3 of the way in, and it's not much of a wobble, but there is a little bit of a wobble here. So just need to mention that. In terms of weight, again, they feel very similar. There isn't really anything to talk about here. Just looking at the build quality, they're so similar. They're both premium aluminum builds. Again, even the sides for both of them feel chamfered, I guess you can say. Like they feel very comfortable in the hand. I don't have a problem. The Vivo is slightly narrower of the two. So in my preference, in terms of the build quality, I'd probably just edge it to the Vivo for me, because it's just slightly narrow, slightly more comfortable to hold in hands. Again, big devices, they're not very one-handed friendly, but this just slightly edges it for me compared to this one. It's just a little bit wider. If you just like kind of plunk them there together, yeah, just about sticks out the Oppo there. Next up, let's talk about the displays. Again, very similar. 120 hertz AMOLED displays, 6.78 inches, both of them. There is a little bit of difference in peak brightness. The Vivo goes up to 4,500. The Oppo is 3,600. When it comes to full screen brightness, the Vivo's 2,000 nits and the Oppo's 1,800 nits. Again, very, very similar numbers. For most of us, we probably not gonna be able to tell the difference. One thing to point out is the Vivo has more features when it comes to that eye comfort part of it. They have a couple more features compared to the Oppo. So yeah, you get AI sleep comfort, sleep screen, anti-fatigue brightness, adaptive color. It has PWM as well. It has motion sickness protection, all of this stuff. That's just something. There's a little bit of an edge again there for the Vivo. Even in terms of screen to body ratios, they both seem very similar, and they now both have flat displays, which is great to see. So both of these phones come with the same chipset, the MediaTek Dimensity 9500, but their performance has been completely different. So first, let's talk about the Vivo. The Vivo, I run benchmarks in general balanced mode, in high performance mode, and in both of them, there is a slight boost in high performance mode, but I think overall it gives you a pretty standardized performance. You can just check it out here on the left. It's pretty good. Now, in terms of the Oppo, the performance has been a very, very mixed bag, actually. You can take a look at some of the results of my benchmark testing. In balance mode, I've had results as low as 1100, which is ridiculous for a chip so powerful in 2025. I should not be getting this kind of performance, but I have. Now, I don't know if this is just the device that I have on hand. Actually, to point that out, I do have another one of these, and I'm getting similar results on both of these devices. So yeah, it cannot be just this specific device that's giving me this sort of performance. But in high performance mode, this actually does outperform the Vivo. And again, the results are up there. Again, in terms of specifications, in the global version, they both come with one option, 16 GB RAM, 512 GB storage. So again, it's pretty much the same. On the Chinese version, of course, again, come with the same options, which is 12 plus 256, 12 plus 512, 16 plus 512, 16 plus 1 TB. 4 options, and the same 4 options for both these devices again. So there isn't really that much to separate them because they have the same chip, same RAM, same storage options, pretty much the same there. Finally, in terms of performance, again, I would probably just about edge it for the Vivo because its performance was very, very consistent. And the Oppo, as I've already mentioned, was a mixed bag. Again, after about 40 minutes of gaming on both these devices, I did find that the Vivo did also run a little bit cooler compared to the Oppo. The Oppo did get pretty warm, I would say. About 5 degrees Celsius difference between the two, which is quite a bit actually. To the touch, the Oppo felt much, much warmer. Next up, let's talk about the battery and charging. Now here, there's a big difference. This device, the Oppo, has 1,000 mAh, or actually 990 mAh more than the Vivo. And what does that actually translate to in real world? This gives you about 70 to 80 minutes of more on-screen time, the Oppo, compared to the Vivo. I'm getting about 7.5 hours of on-screen time on this, and about 8 hours and 40 minutes on this. So that is a pretty big difference. So if the battery is one of the main reasons between these two devices for you, I would probably go with the Oppo in this case. In terms of charging infrastructure for both of these, they both come with chargers in the box in most regions, and they both have similar charging speeds. This one charges at 90 watts, the Vivo, and wired, and the Oppo does 80 watts wired. Not that different between the two. In wireless, the roles are reversed. The Vivo charges at 40 watts, the Oppo charges at 50 watts. Again, for getting these charging speeds, you need proprietary gear for it from the companies. The wired chargers come in the box. The wireless chargers you need to buy separately if you want the top speeds. But otherwise, with both of them, the battery life is really good, but I would just edge it out and say the Oppo is the king of battery between these two devices, because 70 minutes is a considerable amount. So I would give the win for the battery and charging section to the Oppo. Now, onto the cameras. I've actually made a detailed comparison of between these two devices right over here. So if you're really interested in the cameras, please go check out that video. In this video, I'm just gonna cover it briefly. They both come with similar sensors again. The main sensor is pretty much identical in these two. They're both Sony LYT-828, 50 megapixels. The ultra wides are also 50 megapixels, and the selfie camera is also 50 megapixel. They both offer portrait video mode, which is great, and they both have really good zoom. In this one, it goes up to 100x on the Vivo, and on the Oppo, it goes up to 120x. Also, they both come with a 200 megapixel periscopic and telescopic zoom cameras, sensors, and the Oppo has a slightly smaller sensor in this case, and the Vivo has a slightly larger sensor. Just take a look at some of the photos that I've taken over here. In my view, I would say the Vivo does take sharper and more clear photos. And also when it comes to zoom, even though the Oppo offers a higher zoom, I do think the stabilization on the Vivo is great, and you do end up with photos that I think look a lot more clearer with those high zooms. Next up, let's talk about the haptics and the speaker quality. Take a listen to the sound quality on both of these devices. First, we're gonna have the Vivo playing. And then the Oppo playing. In both of them, there is very little differences. I would say the Vivo is just slightly sharper, but the Oppo is slightly louder. In terms of haptics, again, it's very similar, but if I had to pick a winner, it would be the Oppo for me on the haptics. So we always talk about cameras, specs, but actually in 2025, the real difference between these two devices isn't in any of that. The real difference is in the software. Both of them have had major overhauls. ColorOS with the Oppo and Origin OS with the Vivo. And that's where the real difference lies between these two devices. ColorOS is my favorite, absolutely favorite Android skin out there today. Origin OS is good, but it just isn't as customizable, and I really do enjoy customization. So, the first thing is, one thing that really does annoy me about Origin OS is you either get depth in your wallpapers or you get widgets. You can't have both. If you add in widgets, the depth goes away. You remove widgets, the depth comes back. Now, in terms of the lock screen as well, again, ColorOS, it's almost like it's not following a grid pattern. Origin OS does feel a lot more like your traditional Android skin, which has a grid pattern, and the widgets can be manipulated, but with some limitations. ColorOS gives you no limitations. You can turn a widget into whatever size, shape you want. And you also get this nice little addition where you can kind of turn a single app into up to 4 icons of within that app. So example, for the camera, you can have 4 camera features directly on your home screen, which is cool. Origin OS doesn't give you any such options. However, a point of note is Origin OS is smoother when it comes to animation speeds. Oppo does actually give you 2 options, which is standard, which is what comes out of the box, and that does feel a bit too slow for me, but it does let you go to enhanced. That does help, but I would still say the animation speed on Origin OS on the Vivo is a little bit more smoother and less janky compared to what you're getting on ColorOS with the Oppo. Another feature where I think the Vivo is better is the drag and drop functionality. I really like the fact that on the Vivo, you can just pick up an item and drop it into your favorite apps, your most used apps. Whereas with the Oppo, you have to put it in a file dock and then go back to your file dock and drop it into the app you actually want to drop it in. I prefer the Vivo implementation for this as well. Now, when it comes to photo editing, Vivo again feels a bit more limiting. AI erasers there and a lot of your basics are there. I do think the AI eraser as well on the Oppo is a lot nicer and a lot more effective than the one on the Vivo. Of course, you can ignore both of them and use the Google Photos one. But the Oppo does offer a few cool features that I do really appreciate. Now, talking about AI, another thing that's really, really nice on the Oppo is you have a built-in AI writer. And I think this is one of the nicest implementation of any AI writer out there. It's very clean, it's very minimalistic, and it does a great job. And that's not it. They also have Oppo's Mindspace on the Find X9 Pro is really like having a second brain built right into your phone. Anytime you see something worth saving, an article, a photo, even a quote, or even a product link, you just swipe up with 3 fingers or press that snap key and you're good to go. I think Mindspace is absolutely brilliant, especially because it also has mind maps, which just helps you think a little bit more clearer and just makes life a lot more simpler. And I think that's a great feature. And hopefully other manufacturers will offer something similar. And lastly, they both have side buttons. Vivo's side button is more customizable. You can select any app you want, but Oppo doesn't offer that. Oppo offers a bunch of pre-selected options for you, the usuals like mute slider, translation on screen, and the basics, flashlight, camera, all of that stuff. Also, Vivo's gives you dual function, so you can hold it in and it gives you a different function, and you can double press it and it gives you a different function. So it's dual function, which I really like. But if I had to give it to one of these two devices, I would definitely say Oppo is the way to go when it comes to software. It's not really much of a question here. So just to summarize this video, there isn't really a better device here. It all depends on what's important to you. In my case, I would say if the camera is the key feature that you need, and that's the most important thing of why you're probably upgrading your device, I would go with the Vivo. If it's software or if it's the battery, I would go with the Oppo. If that's the most important thing, I would go with the Oppo. So if you've enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe. It does really help us out. And also, please don't forget, we are also running our giveaway, which is not actually going to be on YouTube. It's going to be in our Discord. The link's below. Just a few more days until we close that. And whoever's in our Discord, we're just going to randomly select a winner using a bot or something. And please also do check out the mobilemarvel.com. We have both of these devices, global and Chinese versions available. And we do ship to a lot of regions. And we also do have some of the best prices out there. And we also price match. So yeah, please do check that out. This is Mo checking out.